I should probably put a voiceover here for our sponsor. Nah, you can read.
Proven nutrition. Nature inspired. Science backed. Is that it? I got a couple taglines that I can go and just toss in here for variety if you guys like to hear them. Proven nutrition. Drink it. Or else. Now, yeah, I heard it was bad when I said it. What's that? I'm fired? Okay then.
It's time.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Raf FTPA. Welcome to an informal conversation. I only have informal conversations. I feel that formal conversations require you to wear your formal gi attire, if you would, or to show up with other dignitaries who also are wearing their gis. I don't know. That's a lot of nonsense. Here's what I'm saying to you guys. My good friend, John Evans, lives on the other side of the world. Now, I don't really get to talk with him that much, but when I do, I try to make sure that you guys are a part of it so that you bear witness to some of the insane things he says to me. And I always get really excited when he wants to talk jiu-jitsu because I'm going to tell you this right up front. I have not talked with him about these topics. I am excited to hear his takes on all of these topics. And more importantly, I think he's kind of interested to hear what the hell I have to say because it's very rare. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to say. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my good friend, Mr. John Evans. John, how are you doing, sir?
What? Pretty good. How's it going, Raf?
Okay. I regret bringing you on.
No, that is the formal introduction here in Japan.
Is it?
What? Yeah, and then they raise the roof. It's really unusual, but just got to go with the customs. Isn't that what we did
20 years ago, though?
They're a little bit behind the times, but that's okay. It's new to them.
No lie, one of my friends, and I don't want to disclose his name because I don't think he's watching this, but in the event this gets back to him, he once heard people, like a football team, we're outside, we're playing football, and he heard a rival team go, what? And he goes, what are they saying? And I go, oh, and before I could even answer, he just goes, sounds like they're saying, catch up. And I go, yep.
It's so to this day he probably still thinks it's ketchup.
Yep, I never corrected him.
Well, it's good.
Hey, what's up, friends, neighbors, all of these other assorted.
This one's starting awesome.
It is starting awesome, and you are lucky to be a part of a great conversation between myself and John. So here's what we're doing. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, hints, allegations, all that good stuff, hit us up in the comment section because we will be answering your questions as part of our live broadcast. Now, this time, we actually got our shit together, people. Okay? We didn't just Skype each other and say, let's talk about any topic. This time, we actually have a little text here. Look at this. Bam. John can't see it, but it says topic.
I can't see it.
If he were signed into his Facebook thing, it would say what it is. So it really looks cool. I'll send him a message at some point to let him know what it looks like. But we have a little thing that says here, and it says topic. Now, let's get to our very first topic. And John, I want you to answer very honestly on this one, okay?
Okay.
Topic number 1, how cool is my shirt? Can you see it?
Ooh, very.
I thank you. Is there any more you want to say about it? Because see, I don't pimp out things and plug them in rude ways. I like to make sure that it's always an organic form of it. So in this time, I'm asking you to tell me what you think of that shirt, John.
I think that it makes me a little homesick because there is a surprising lack of tacos in Japan.
Really?
And yeah, go figure, right? Not a lot of Mexicans here. But that's actually maybe oh man, I'm going down a wrong road right now. Oh, sorry, Esparza. I'm just gonna say I miss the food quite a bit. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
This is from my good friends over at SamuraiSwag.co. So go check them out, SamuraiSwag.co. Once I saw this shirt, I said there are very few jiu-jitsu t-shirts that really encapsulate everything I'm about. And honestly, if there are grapples that happen that turn into tacos, I 100% participate. I think John, as an instructor of mine, can attest to that. Is that not true?
That's true. If there's a grapple and a taco, then Raf's there.
I'm also sure that John has seen me get way better at jiu-jitsu when someone mentions food.
That's true, yeah. Oh, if you go for a submission, or at least 2 submissions before this rolls over, you get tacos, like, man, Raf just turns it up goes to 11 on that.
I really do, which is a normal person like 4. But all right, let's go to our second topic right now. Okay, second topic, John. This is one I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about. It is our Tokyo Grand Slam. Tell us a little bit about that, sir.
I don't know anything about that. What is?
You were the one to
what
decide. You brought it up, so you can't tell me.
I don't know.
Oh, is it a Tokyo? What is that?
Well, I'm trying to respond in an organic fashion,
Very
Raf.
fun.
It's just like with the shirt thing.
It
So,
works better
no, yes,
if you
Tokyo
didn't
Grand
come
Slam.
up with the topics and then tell me like, "Hey, W,
It
read the
does.
teleprompter."
Yeah, but I mean, when do we have quality control with our
You don't.
podcasts? No,
Tell
we
us a
don't.
little bit about the Tokyo Grand Slam, sir.
That is a big tournament. This is actually the first time I ever came to Japan. 1 year ago, at the end of July. I think it's July 29th. It's the UAE JJF tournament. So it is the Grand Slam World Tour that they do, where they had one in LA, they have one in Brazil, one in Abu Dhabi, one in Tokyo, one somewhere else, but man, it is eluding me right now. But the important one that is coming up is the Tokyo Grand Slam. It's also the first one of the UAE JJF tournament season. So that's where your points for this entire season will start to accumulate is at this tournament. And they also have money. So like, for my division, because I've been a brown belt for forever, if I were to compete in brown belt as an adult, then, because normally I'm children's division, but if I were to compete in the adult division, I could win $1,000, I think, for first place. So that's pretty awesome for not even a black belt. So that is unusual. Plus, you get points. Oh, and I just killed everything. You get points for the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam, which I think that accumulates and helps you get into the Abu Dhabi Pro. And also it can also get you extra money too. Like if you have the most points at the end of the season or something like that, you get extra money. So
You have to make a game show out of this. I feel like the accumulation of points is something that you see on, like, if you win Jeopardy the first time, you get to come back and play Jeopardy again for more money. Like, I feel like that's what we should do for jiu-jitsu.
how would that work, Raf?
Well, here's how it works, John. First of all, we get money, imaginary money, because jiu-jitsu doesn't have real money. Then after that, we say, "Hey, John, you won your brown belt division. Come back tomorrow when you play against Buchacha for double the money." And then we see how that works. Because you just obviously, especially a brown belt, they just go like, "Ooh, double bonus." Boom, you show back up. We had a comment come in from one Ricardo Amendolia who says, "Grapple at the Taco 3. EBI burrito overtime rules."
Nice. I like that. That's we should do that.
We 100% should do that. So, John, let me get this straight. You are going to be commentating that. That is amazing. Have you had the opportunity to see some of the talent out there for grapplers out in Japan?
Yes, I have. I've trained at a few places out here. And my camera. This setup. I'll blame it on the Japanese.
Fuck the pain away, John. Keep going.
Production. Oh, wow, we went there, huh?
Fuck the pain away. Fuck the pain away. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's a great song. But yeah, so no, Japanese grappling has really come a long way. It's at a very high level now. All of a sudden, it's like if you look at the roosterweight division, you've got like if you take out Kyotera and Bruno Malfacine, if they're no longer competing, you basically got number 1 and number 2 are from Tokyo, both from Tokyo. Really? One being from Triforce, one being from Carpe Diem in Tamayuki Hashimoto. Passport is his nickname. And then also Sawada-san from Triforce.
His nickname is Passport?
Passport, yeah. I don't know. Maybe because he flies everywhere to compete. I don't know.
It's a terrible fucking bad nickname. I would like to submit some other considerations. I mean, is it just like travel ban? That's a good nickname.
that would be a good nickname. That could be mine.
Yeah. There's Freedom Fighter, because freedom's great to put in the middle of everything. And then, just keep going that one. Okay. We have a question coming in, but I want to let you get through this. So that's pretty impressive, though, to already have those, because a lot of people don't get outside of their own realm. So they don't necessarily know what may be outside, say, their own country, let alone state sometimes. So you're getting the opportunity to see these great grapplers. You've gotten the opportunity to train with them. What is something that you might see out there that we don't get to see being in that area?
What's interesting, like training's kind of a bit different here from what I've seen. I mean, there's definitely exceptions to every rule, but in general, there's more of an emphasis on just like kind of grinding, like a little bit more like a wrestler mentality, where just go go go. A lot of free training, not a ton of technique. Like there's definitely technique, but they just want to like nearly like they want to just get to the free training right away. And then they like to really just go at it, which can make for good athletes. And definitely there's some really technical people like Tamayuki Passport Hashimoto. He's super technical. I think he's got like a new instructional out for what are they calling that? The underhook de la Hiva, the waiter guard, I think is what he's called. Yeah. And so he's like one of the best probably in the world at that. So there's definitely some very technical players out here, but just in general, from what I've seen, a little bit less emphasis on drilling and spending a ton of time on technique. Like they'll go over it and they just want to get right to hard training. And also the classes seem to usually be a little bit shorter. Like they're just like in and out. Maybe they'll train a couple of times a day, but it's just they want to get through it and go home and eat cup noodles. There's a fantastic.
That's an assumption, John.
No, that is not an assumption. Everyone loves ramen and rice out here, and it's fantastic because those two things are both magical. So
you should really see if you can get sponsored by them, because you should just be like, listen, I'm the white guy out here. Sponsor me because I 100% am huge in America. You don't know this.
There are a lot of things that are super popular out here that are supposedly like big in America that we as Americans have never even heard of before. So it's pretty interesting. And then you talk to people, they're like, yeah, so you know such and such, and like you'll look at it like maybe it's a music video or something. It's like, I've never heard or seen this person in my life. Like, no, they're very popular in America. No, no, they're not. Like, you look it up on Wikipedia. It's like they're a huge failure in America.
I would know, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
I am the whitest America you can find.
My
name is John Evans.
Look at me. Look at me. Like they are asking America.
Exactly.
For my, yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and stop talking about this. We got a question in the comment section. First of all, hello to Christopher James Velez, who says Ashigurami or single leg X.
I'm a big fan of saying things in the language that you speak. So, I live in Japan and I do not speak a ton of Japanese yet. And it is very evident, having to navigate my way through life here. And that's pretty rough. But, the Japanese names actually make a lot of sense if you're fluent in Japanese, because I think ashi just means like leg or foot. Yes. Like Uchimata is like, uchi means inside. So it's like ko uchi gari is like, inside, like a.
Well, if you watch the Danaher DVD, if you can get through all the noise, he redid it. So
they reshot. How did they reshoot that? Wait, 8 hours.
They just
footage.
Brought him in. They bribed him with 4 new rash guards. When they brought him in, they decided to use a microphone this time. Anyway, but there is a moment, I believe, in his DVD where Danaher just goes, "Oh, and by the way, ashi just means leg entanglement." So it really doesn't matter. It's just some sort of weird arbitrary thing that you could yell at. You could be like, "Burrito," and people will be like, "Oh, okay, that means like double outside, duh."
Yeah, totally.
It's essentially a 10th planet sort of a thing. I think he was saying, though, do you have a preference on which either is called, or do you have a preference on how it is that you go about it, John?
Well, when I think, I actually call them both because when I think of Ashigarami, I think of the footlock
Mm,
as a position, like after it's hit the ground, that's
hmm
when I think of it. But when your opponent's still standing up and you're in between the legs and you've got the actual position, you're using it as a guard before there's that possibility of submission.
Okay.
So because it flows to the X guard too, so I think of it more as a guard that I refer to as single leg X when your opponent's standing, but when it hits the ground, it's more of like footlock territory, and then I actually think of it as Ashigurami. So,
Awesome.
both.
Well, here's what we're
Yeah,
going to do. We're going to move on
I'm
to our
that guy.
next topic. Thank you very much for your question, Chris. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to ask us in the comment section. I am keeping tabs on there. We are live to the live. You know that because there's some Super Mario Brother being played in the background, and I would just do that in recorded time. It's kind of weird how entranced I am getting by it, where I'm just kind of like, ooh, shortcut tunnel. All right. Here's the next topic. John, the next topic you had on mind was the state of BJJ in Japan. Now, we've been talking a little bit about this. Hello, Juan Mob. You've been talking a little bit
Oh,
about the overall feeling that you've had from BJJ in Japan. What is it that you believe, aside from the fact that it might be a little bit more kind of a grind where they get there, they practice? What do you find that is something that, in terms of like their competition spirit, have you seen you've commentated before with them. Is there anything different, particularly about how they compete?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's a lot of old school games out here. There's a lot of close guard. There's a lot of butterfly guard, which, thanks to Wardzinski is making a huge comeback, and now with some new innovations to update it, which are awesome. Like I love seeing that type of thing. And as I've spoken with you and also with my other co-commentator Sean Williams on some of the live broadcasts for Flow. A lot of the old stuff just looks new to people that are newer to jujitsu. Like if you've only been training 3 or 4 years, and maybe you've never seen, say, like a high level butterfly guard or whatever, it's not like, oh, that's some new invention. Like the butterfly guard
Yeah.
has been around forever, right? So a lot of those old guards and submissions, a lot of the old technique are now just making a comeback. It's all kind of cyclical, so that's
Mm.
interesting to see. But you'll see like a lot of the older school stuff out here in general, unless you get to like say like certain teams like Carpe Diem, where they have like a very new, innovative, sporty style. Like, but there's only a few of those in Japan that I've seen.
Interesting. This is an important break in the conversation. First of all, Juan Bernardo says, "Hi, you guys. Miss you both." So
Oh,
there's that. But he has a very specific question in terms of your experience and your expertise. He says, "Which Mario game is that, John?"
that is Super Mario World.
Okay.
It's the first one on the Super Nintendo.
Great. I'm so glad that we could take time on our jiu-jitsu chat to take a moment to answer questions about video games. Thank you, Juan. This is why this sport is going to become huge. Even in a chat about jiu-jitsu, people are like, "What's that video game in back?"
Everyone loves video games. Come on.
100%. So that is pretty cool. It is good to see that. I do like the idea that you've been there. I think it would be really cool to see a John Evans maybe compete there. I don't know, you guys. We'll see what happens. I can't make any promises, but
Oh, I would love to.
okay. So now let's continue going on. We're gonna go to our next topic, which is one that is near and dear to your heart, my heart. But I really want to before I show you what the topic is. I want to make sure that we can pinpoint the time in this conversation when John Evans put me in the same sentence as Sean Williams. Now, I know Sean well enough to know that he tolerates me, but
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
you're basically like the Mexican Sean Williams.
I definitely do it for a third of his rate. I'll tell you that much. But
Mm,
one of the things that makes me laugh about Sean Williams is that he
It's terrible.
he works so hard, and they always have him commentating for a while with maybe Tyler, maybe you, maybe Ricardo. I've seen him commentate with Kenny Florian. And then sometimes for long periods of time, especially even at this past Worlds, he was commentating by himself for not just maybe 4 hours, but maybe in the realm of about 6 hours, which brings us to our next topic, which is BJJ commentary.
Ooh.
And there's 3 exclamation marks, because when I say it's near and dear to my heart and John's heart, we have spent time on the microphone working together. John commentates for Flow for a bunch of events. I mean, you name it, he's commentated it. John, I want to get your initial thoughts on where is BJJ commentary and why did you want to talk about this?
I just think it's really interesting. It's something that doesn't get talked about much, and it's really, really important for any technical sport. Because you talk about, like, say if you're maybe an advanced athlete and you compete a lot, you're trying to be a professional jiu-jitsu player, which is really, really tough to do unless you're like that top 1%, especially top 1% at black belt. Like it's tough to make money in jiu-jitsu still, unless you are that super, super high level that most people never get to. But the only way really that you're going to make money in jiu-jitsu in the long run as a sport is, to bring more money from the outside in. And if you have a very technical sport, like say chess, like competitive chess or anything that has a ton of technique that is just confusing as hell to the layperson, is you need good commentary to give context to what you're watching. So otherwise it just looks like 2 guys hugging each other in pajamas for 10 minutes or whatever it is.
It can be. But
yeah, and it can
theory.
be that for sure. But I mean, there can also be a
Sure.
So it just gets very, very rough. One of the whole reasons I got into commentary was for one, I was injured, so I couldn't train or anything. I was going a little crazy. But I'd been training for about maybe 3 years, 4 years when I started commentating. And it's because for the first 2 years, like I would watch the Worlds or any other tournament. And if there was no commentary, like I had no idea. Sometimes if there was commentary, like I would still just be like, wow, I don't know what I'm watching at all. And that is so terrible for a spectator sport. Like you cannot get people to pay to watch something that they'll never understand and they feel is just boring. So commentary is a huge deal, in my opinion.
Part of the reason why I do like working with John, this is my 2 cents on commentary, is that John does a really good job of capturing what his instincts are on how to explain the technical sides of it. So that's always interesting to me. I'm genuinely curious to hear how he'll contextualize certain moves that I've either seen him teach himself or that I feel that he's like super passionate about. Now, having said that, there are a lot of people who do jiu-jitsu commentary who are pretty good at that. There are a number who I can list off. But for me, it's really difficult that people don't build narratives. And I've heard certain promoters or people who work for organizations who have said that nobody cares about commentary or they're a dime a dozen. And to that I say, you're an idiot. Because for the most part, 1, you don't know how TV works. And that usually signals that to me. Number 2, you don't understand how the sport actually builds. So a lot of the times when you do watch a sport, you're not just watching to hear the technical explanation of it. You're also trying to hear why this is important to this athlete. Okay, cool. If every sport was this athlete just wants to win, nobody would give a shit. Because guess what? It's just
such a good story, Raf.
Wow,
Come on.
he really wanted to win too? Who knew? I thought they just were like showing up and seeing who could outposition the other one. But now that I know they both wanted to win, well, narrative done. So that's usually my giant gripe about this, because I feel there's only a handful of people who actively do that. And as somebody who is a major fan of commentary in general, it's something that I keep an ear on consistently. And I'll tell you this much. I know a lot of people talk trash about different commentators and who they like, and a lot of it's subjective. So I don't even mind that necessarily. Yeah, it's entirely accurate that certain events should have the type of commentators who reflect that. for example, I know people are critical of the EBI commentary team. Now, I like those people. I've been very clear with those individuals that I think they're all upstanding individuals. That doesn't mean that I don't want their job. Now,
I really like TJ. And I used to
TJ's
listen to that guy on the Sure Dog podcast, like maybe 2006,
Yeah.
something like that. Like, forever ago.
Yeah, and it's
Before I even started jiu-jitsu, actually.
the hard part for me is I know that TJ has his foot in both MMA and jiu-jitsu, and I think the harder thing is that when I get really angry is when people don't know their stories, or they know as much as what the athlete has put down on a little piece of paper. And that's good, but it's not usually a full story. And the EBI team, for all of its credit, really does try, and I'm talking about their actual social media team, really does try to tell a good story. And Eddie always puts those out, and you get a better idea of why it's so important to those individuals. So there is that. I want to say this, though, because I recently had this discussion with one Jay Regalburrito, or as I like to call him, Regalburrito. Now, Jay did this thing, because I was taking photos at the last EBI. Okay, John? And I was pretty impressed.
Everything burritos. Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, there was something I didn't know that he was trying to do. Now, John, I know you can't see this on your screen right now, but I want you to understand that on this photo right here, for leave, there is a photo of him that says J. Regalburrito for EBI commentary on the back of her rash guard.
Wait, what?
I'm not.
It's like a
kidding you.
sponsorship to promote
Yes.
his move into commentary on that show?
Yes. So that was his
Okay.
genius contribution. And I don't know that I was mad at him, but here I am as somebody who's also making my case generally to be a commentator. And I see that I'm taking photos. And then I take this photo and I go, am I supposed to put this out there? Because I feel it's not doing me any good to put this out. So I decided to make one small correction to what he did. And I hit up John and I said, well played. Well played this time, John. But guess what? I've done you one better. Now, John, again, you can't see this one, but I just put my face over where his face was.
Perfect.
And I feel like it was a smart way to play the game because guess what? He paid for that advertisement, whereas I didn't. So
but
I
we
say
all
to
did.
you, John, check and mate. So anyway, there's that
fantastic.
stupidity. Listen, John does a great job. The submission, the sub only, the finishers, they do a solid work. It's not to say that people aren't doing solid BJJ commentary in their own realms. I'm just saying for the most part, I'm usually underwhelmed. And mostly it's because I feel the athletes don't really get their due. So say whatever you'll ever want about myself or John and how we commentate, but know one thing for sure. We fucking care. And that, I think, cuts a lot of distance. So, but it's also part of the reason why John's one of my favorite people to work with on this, because we usually give each other notes before and after, and it's very helpful when you have a partner that you can say, like, hey, I need you to do this, and here's what I need from this, because a lot of the times on jiu-jitsu commentary, and take this or leave this for what you will, other jiu-jitsu commentators, it seems like it's a I know more than you do contest. And they don't understand they're getting into this. It's just that maybe sometimes they have different backgrounds and they're trying to express their knowledge. But most of the time, you have two people going like, that's a really good entry into saddle. Speaking of saddle, I've actually been working on that for years. Really, me too. I love using saddle. In fact, here's why I love using saddle. And it's just, it becomes so much of a that most people are going to tune the fuck out. Anyway, I like that that's the gesture I do before I say to my good friend, what's up, Dave Gieselman? It's good to see you, buddy.
Wow. Oh, man.
John, do you have other thoughts on BJJ commentary before we move on?
Yes. Real quick thought is that, if anyone's listening and they're trying to think of, oh, what do I like in BJJ commentary? Uh, just for little knowledge for their dome piece is that most people do not like anything new. So if it's somebody that they haven't heard a couple of times, they do not like them usually. But that is not a good criteria to judge commentary by. I think there's like 3 commentary criteria that are important. Entertainment, right? Like if the person is entertaining, that's super important, but that's going to be subjective from person to person. But if they have like because that will bring the casual fans in if they don't want to hear what you're talking about. Number 2 is technical knowledge. Of course, you have to have knowledge about what they're doing. I guess energy is also covered by entertainment.
Not necessarily true, because energy and entertainment are 2 different concepts. You can have a lot of energy and still be a suck ass, but at least be technically proficient.
That's true.
I like when I see people who are energetic, sometimes the producer in me wants to tell them, is this appropriate? Are you doing this well? Like, why are you energetic? Because you do want energy to be there. But misplaced energy, I think, is just as much of a swing and a miss if you're just like, and they're off. Oh my God. They've just pulled guard. It's a double guard pull. I have never seen this with 2 Meow brothers ever in my life. It's like, well, I mean, no. Just watch them.
Okay. That's fair.
I do like this from Justin M. Perry, and I'm going to let you get back to it for your number 3, which is, he's got his grapevine in the mount. Actually, we call that the skydive. Thank you.
Wow, the skydive.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, no, it makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, like, God,
we call that
God
the R.
bless
Kelly
10th
because
planet.
of the bump and grind. So, at Art Academy, it was like, now you got to hit him with that bump and grind. And then sometimes if you don't want to give that away, you got to be like, I don't see nothing wrong. And then just let them do their thing.
Oh, man.
Oh, no. Well, little bump and grind.
It's Raf. No.
Mama,
we don't do. God damn it. Yeah, but
what's your number?
Yes, so R. Kelly. Okay, so if energy, well, I guess it's technically my number 4. If energy and entertainment are 2 separate, then number 4 would be. Oh, now I can only think of bump and grind. God damn you, Raf.
I don't see I'm wrong. Oh, well, little bump and grind.
Oh shit, that's literally all I can think about right now.
Vocal, where it's not really an actual note, it's just like, I don't know if you've ever heard Keith Sweat, but his singing is all nasal. He's got a song that he did as a hit cover. Obviously everybody knows, and nobody, and who can give you what you need? Nobody. It's all nasal, right? But there's another song he did that's a cover called Just a Touch of Love. And I swear to God, John, the lyrics on that one are just like, and ow, and just a little bit. Like, that's the exact vocal. I'll send it to you after this.
Are there lyrics for that? I would like to see that.
Ow, a little bit, just a little bit. That's it. That's really the lyrics, to my knowledge. Anyway, John. All right. Well, I think that was a good list.
Yeah. Okay, we bump and grinded our way right through that.
I think we're gonna go straight to our next topic. Yeah.
Yes. Which is
EBI 16.
All right. And somebody that we know was there, right?
Yes.
Was that you?
Yeah, it was me, but don't phrase it like that.
No, I like phrasing it like you're a child.
No,
so
it's not even like, well, who was that big guy? Was it you? It's like I'm a dog too. It's just like, GBI, No, I did go to EVI, but when you phrase it like we both know somebody, like my split personality went, and I'm just like, yes, John, I know.
Who was it? Who's the best EVI goer?
That would be me.
It was you. Yeah, that's right.
So I did go to it. It was a lot of fun. You brought up a
Man, the
great note.
girls throw it down. Holy
Absolutely.
shit.
Do you have any favorites, John?
I mean, ever since Mosquita and Basilio, is it Basilio?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bia Basilio
Bia
went at
versus
it
Bia.
at yeah, exactly. I just call them both Bia, so I was like, oh shit. Bia Basilio and Bia Mosquita went at it at ADCC. Like I looked at the brackets and I was like, oh, these two are going to be in the finals if they're on opposite sides. And man, it's going to be amazing. Like I have no idea who's going to win. It's just going to be fireworks. It's going to be awesome to watch. And I was not disappointed. It was awesome. All the matches were really good though.
Yeah. Let me see. Nikki Sullivan, also really solid. A big shout out to our good friend Lila, because here's my thing. Lila is deep, deep hearted in her 10th planet, but I feel like she holds like an extra weight on her shoulder, especially in that first one. When she came out with fire, not only was she upholding the need to like hold it down for like the 10th planet style, but like, mind you, this was the first time that women had ever been like featured on an EBI. And so she came out there and she, in an interview with me, was like, I just wanted to be good and I wanted to make sure that, show that we belong and we're here. And it was just like, I remember telling her in the interview, like, you not only proved you belonged, but you were providing some of the biggest parts of the clash. And in her first match, she was in trouble. She was in deep on a, I believe it was a Darce. Somebody almost had her put away with that. And she was able to space her way out of it, came back, ended up getting, I think, a heel hook to kind of finish out. But again, even when she was in danger, she was like, fuck this noise! And like, really just gives her all. And I feel like between that, the Bias, Nikki, a host of the other competitors from that tournament, that's all you can really ask is, are you really trying to make this with everything you've got? And I feel like that was something that she was doing. And I have a deep respect for all of those women who made it super exciting to watch, John.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was the second one that featured women, right, as like the main tournament.
This is the second one to feature women, yes.
Yeah, but pretty much, well, they're batting 1,000, right? Because all the women's tournaments are phenomenal. Yeah. I think like it's one of the best things about watching female fighters in MMA or any combat sport, jiu-jitsu, is that man, like. I feel, at least personally, that like you see the emotion. It's just a little bit more evident, like just from looking at it. Man, fuck, they just want to kill each other, and it makes for fantastic viewing for from a spectator standpoint. Like all the matches are always exciting, and man, yeah, just I would love to see more of them. Personally.
It was great, John. I was there, but you know who wasn't there?
Who would that be?
That would be one Kitt Canaria, aka
Whoa.
Fake News from Jiu-Jitsu Times, who was not there live. And, I'm just saying, they're the Jiu-Jitsu Times, which means they should probably be covering it. But I know that Kitt was just sitting at his house being lazy.
Yeah, he's usually pretty lazy. He's a lazy person in general. He was the first person I saw in Abu Dhabi when I went to the Abu Dhabi World Pro. He was like we went in like a taxi from the airport together randomly. That guy is, he's everywhere. He is super lazy. Super lazy. Always the most lazy.
And I always think to myself, like, I know a lot of lazy people in this sport, but he might take the cake.
Yeah,
and
number one lazy.
Too lazy to actually eat the cake. He would just take the cake and be like, "Oh, I want to get away. I'm too
fat." He'd have to feed it to him, maybe.
Let me ask this: what did you think about the combat jiu-jitsu matches?
It's interesting, and I don't know. I heard like okay, so there was two matches, right?
Yep.
It was just the two. So the first one was what's that guy from 10th Planet Freaks that's super good?
That would be PJ.
Yes, Barch, right?
Mhm.
Man. Okay, so there was like no combat in the combat jujitsu, if I remember
No,
correctly.
he and I had a nice little chat about that in our post-fight interview or post-match interview. I kind of gave him some shit for it. Now, PJ can murder me very quickly, and I understand
That
that.
guy's, yeah, super good.
But when you have a combat jiu-jitsu match and you don't throw a single slap, did a combat jiu-jitsu match ever really even happen?
Is that like a slap in the face to a combat jujitsu practitioner?
I don't
Not
know.
getting slapped in
You
the
know what?
face?
I would have asked him if that's a slap in the face, but he would be like, "Oh, don't throw it at me." So I'll say this: there was no actual combat jiu-jitsu to it, and I understand why he agreed to participate in it. It was originally supposed to be Boogie and Wagner. Now, if you go back even further for this card was supposed to have taken place in Vegas on Cinco de Mayo, and it was supposed to be Gordon versus Vinny, and that was supposed to be their slap fight against each other. But then both of them got signed to ACB because I guess Vinny was already signed by it. Whatever. Long story short, they went to go do that sand slaps for ACB, and then they needed a new combat match to go ahead and make that for the like co-main for the female EBI, which fine, no problem. Gets more eyeballs, combat. I understand, does fairly well for them numbers wise. At least that's what we're told. So when it looked like they had Wagner and Boogie, it looked like okay, well, no problem. There's the match you get, right? And then Wagner pulled out. And part of the reason Wagner pulled out, it was kind of a mystery, and Boogie didn't sell him short in my post interview with him. But he just said, things didn't work out. When in actuality, the next day, Wagner puts out a post that says, yeah, part of the reason I didn't do it was because I wasn't promised show money. And I feel like for combat jiu-jitsu, you should probably get some show money as opposed to come get slapped for no reason.
Which is usually what I do, but
Well,
okay.
right. But I mean, that's just called a date for John. I just know
A good date.
a good date. I just know that I don't think he's wrong, and I know that I think it was Grappling Industries that has now stepped in to
Hmm.
say that they're going to do the match between Wagner and Boogie. Now, the only thing is, I think it's probably going to be a regular jiu-jitsu
Just
match.
regular. Yeah,
Uh,
I would think so.
I would.
Just because they don't do any of the combat
You
jujitsu,
also have to get a
right?
governing body to come in for the jiu-jitsu aspect of it.
Oh,
So,
really? So you have to get like the athletic commission for that state,
because keep in
or
mind,
whatever,
that's
like
part of the
you have
reason
to for
why
MMA?
Beltran does those matches is because
Hmm.
he's actually registered or certified to do MMA coverage or MMA refereeing, so they have to pull in him to do that.
Ah,
So
which because they have to go through the commission, right? So, oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
so
Okay.
I have, I mean, for me, combat jiu-jitsu is a strange thing to watch, just in terms of seeing it live, because a lot of the times you see grown people get slapped, and it's not often you see grown people get slapped a lot. Punched, maybe, especially with MMA, you kind of see that. But someone getting slapped and now upkicked, those are two
Yeah,
things that
that's
are
what I
very interesting.
heard. Like that, I mean, that's crazy. Like if you watch, what was it? It was Jacare versus, oh man, Masasi, I think. Um, where Jacare, old MMA fight, Jacare was beating the pants off of him and then tries to pass the guard and just gets upkicked right in the face and gets knocked out. Um, like upkicks are serious business. Like that is like, how do you not allow a punch to the face, but you allow a kick to the face? Like that's crazy to me. Like, holy crap. Like what, why, at that point it starts to get like weird. Like why are we doing combat jujitsu and not just MMA?
Yeah, call it diet MMA is what we sometimes refer to it as. I just am intrigued to see how this goes because now they're going to do it for the next EBI. It's going to be middleweights, and it's all combat for those middleweights.
Oh wow. Interesting.
So, having said all of that, John, do you feel that Wagner is right in getting some show money when there is now the possibility of getting upkicked and legitimately kind of a little bit more health risk on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm all about athletes getting enough money to live off of in general, which is something that's pretty elusive for
And I'm
grapplers.
against that because I think they should starve. Brr.
Oh, that's true. Scrooge McExparza?
I see them all the
Yeah.
time with their acai,
Right.
and I'm like, you got it too easy, athletes.
Knock it out of their hands.
Just,
I've seen you do that.
Braulio's always like, please, may I have some more? And I'm like, no. Braulio, you get out of here with that weak sauce shit.
Is that an Oliver Twist reference?
Yeah, 100%. But it's different because it's Braulio doing it. So it's just him being like, no, sir, come on. It's me. So.
If it was Braulio, though, he probably would have gotten some more. He's pretty persuasive. Like, he's got that, like,
persuasive.
charm.
He's
like...
also... he's the person who I always manage to run into at the acai line. I don't know how it happens, but he and I are always right next to each other.
Maybe he's just always there.
I think that's really what it is, because I get maybe one acai per trip, and I'm pretty sure that's like his 9th version of it. It's his drug of choice of him being like, come on, I need it. Oh, make it hurt. Oh, yeah, I need that. Oh, honey.
We've all got our vices, Raf.
We do. Anyway, you were saying, John.
Was I saying? I don't know.
Just to close out on eBay, I think.
Yes, I think they should get show money. I think I'm all for the athletes making enough money to be professional, make a living off of just the sport, and especially if there's some type of danger of getting kicked in the face or slapped in the face. Slapped in the face can be okay, but some of these guys are getting privy to how to cheat the rules or to get the most out of the rules, I guess. So they're doing like the Boss Root and Pink race, little bone on the arm, like where it's basically a strike and you can knock somebody out with that. So like all of a sudden it's not just slapping, it is just practically full on striking.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rough to not get money from.
I'll say this, the only thing that I have an issue with in terms of fans whenever they try to figure out a way to fix things. We had one of our fans, and he's a very nice human being, but the quickest way to bore me, I guess, in a conversation is to just say like, well, this is how they need to do the money. They need to just find more, and they could find more by getting rid of Bruce Buffer, and they got more money. It's like, okay. And then I think he at one point incentivized, and I don't know what your opinion on this, maybe I'm wrong, but he gave us a proposal where he said, I think maybe they should give out money per submission, and no matter what the athlete is, they make $2,000 per submission. And I said, so you have a scenario where theoretically the winner could not make as much money as somebody in like one of the out rounds. And he's like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And I was like, well, then how does that really make it so that you win? Like, I get in the short term, it incentivizes all the athletes to have like a little bit of a hand in it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a better narrative for that winner. You're going to still have somebody saying like, oh no, I'm poor. Where? Like at the end, and think about this, if you don't get any submissions, you have the possibility of still walking out with $0, while homeboy who got 2 heel hooks makes it to a semi, goes out, at least walks out with 4K.
And did that already kind of happen too? Like, maybe it was Wagner, but I seem to remember that one of those earlier EBIs, where they pay you for submission or whatever, you get like extra money. And one of them was just like fine with just winning and just taking home like victory points, basically. Like they were cool with it, and they pretty much had zero submissions and went through the whole thing.
I think people like to go back and signal out Joe Soto. He was very close to, I think, getting overtime wins, and he ran into a train known as Eddie Cummings, who at that time I think he either took about 15 or 20K, just because he had very fast submissions. So it was almost like polar opposites. I think it might have been 15, because I think he did have some issue with Soto or something like that. I don't know. They're all starting to blend together now, but I still feel like part of the narrative that we need as commentators to push athletes forward is for some of them to at least get a good to get a
Base?
good sort of base for it. Our good friend Gustavo Firmino just joined in. I'm not sure exactly how much you heard, but he said, actually, you'll only get the submission money only if you win the whole thing. That is correct. So I think what John was saying was he was en route to potentially collecting if he had won, and he had done so just in overtimes. The proposal that we had, and I'm not sure if you were here for this, Gus, was we had somebody who said that you should get like a submission per, or 2K per submission, and that was something that I threw around that I was like, no. So if you get 2 subs and lose in the final match, you don't make any sense. Yes, that is correct. So part of the hard part for me is I think you should always find some sort of way to incentivize it. I'm not against giving money to people who get submissions, but acting like we don't, like you can just grow extra money is a problem to me if you don't really show how you make for that extra money. And more importantly, I feel like, all right, cool. Show me how it is that you can incentivize those individuals to get it, while at the same time making it so that it's universal throughout the entire show, and that it doesn't deplete from that hero winner.
Yeah, or maybe they could have a system where, but I mean, they'd all have to get more, there just have to be more money for the whole event in general. But if they were all paid to show up, and, you know, you're paid like maybe per match, like a certain amount, then, maybe you could increase that amount and then say, like, if it goes to overtime or if there's no submissions, you know, either in regular time or in overtime, then you get a penalty, which takes, you would be guaranteed anyway. Not all that, you know, it's more of like,
wow, John.
So you're still going to make money, but it's more like, here's your money, but if you don't get the submission, you make less.
Yeah.
It makes it more tangible, I think.
I like that
than
John's
like,
one of the people.
You can chase this.
I like that John's one of the people who expresses what I love about game shows, which is that in game shows you never actually lose money. You just lose all of the money you earned on the game show. I'm waiting for the game show where you actually owe them money if you lose. It's just like, well, you went bankrupt, so oh shit, you owe us now $100, please. I think that would be one of the most amazing game shows to watch. I would never participate on it. But anyway, again, here's the issue. And I think this is where it comes back for. I think that Eddie helped to push for athletes to get paid. So I think that he did start something very solid. I don't think money grows on trees. Sure. And I think that Eddie's not the type who's just like, well, fuck you guys, I don't want you to make any money. I think that when the resources and other areas are all taken into consideration, the fact that we're now getting into the growing pains of years before, it was like, well, if you guys really want money, show up to EBI. And now we're at the point where people are saying like, well, you know what? You don't always make money at EBI. It shows that the game is slowly changing.
Yes, things are getting better.
Don't forget exactly, like, this was one of the things that helped us get there and put pressure, I think, on the IBJJF to start giving out for money for the end of the season awards so that you could see those individuals start to get a little bit of money who are their, like, show ponies.
Well, they've started, I mean, IBJJF has started to follow suit, though, right? Like they have the IBJJF Pro.
That's what I'm talking about. They have the IBJJF Pro, but then keep in mind at the very end of the year, like they make that big deal of making the Star Wars celebration ceremony where they're like, look, Buchecha has a check. Look, it's awesome. Yay, IBJJF.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be one of the last ones to the party, but, you know, like as long as we all get there, right? Like, you know, little by little, I suppose.
All right, so I think that'll close out our EBI 16 discussion. The next topic is apparently a new Drake album, which I don't know why that this is something you put on our list, but the new Drake album is one that holds more court of maybe pissing me off, more than unnecessary self-aggrandizing. John, what is the point of the new Drake album as your point?
You know, just got to make sure Bay's happy, and that's what Drake's here for. And got a new album.
Do you feel that when Drake creates a new album, and
creates,
he puts it out there, and he has a number one record with God's Plan, which, by the way, they all sound the same to me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
God's
Well, that
plan
was God's plan too.
might as well have been fucking One Dance, which might as well have been like, yeah, which is exactly all Drake songs to me. Um,
Mm-hmm. They're fantastic.
but when it says on your news ticker,
Mm-hmm.
Drake has won a
Mm-hmm.
beef, or Drake is in the middle of a beef, how much of that
Mm.
does that take up of your time, John?
Most of it. Um, I mean, I think ever since I followed Drake and saw his miraculous comeback from being wheelchair bound to now being a very famous rapper, it's just I pretty much try to invest as much time as possible into Drake.
Yeah, start from the bottom. Yeah, like literal bottom with his
Mm.
wheelchair. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm getting
It's
up there.
incredible. They never even talked about
I
how he
just
got out of it.
listen. This
That's
is what
amazing.
happens when people talk about does Drake have beef with somebody? I can only in my brain can I think they said at one point they go, did Drake win the beef between him and I don't even remember the other guy now at this point.
Of course, yeah. So
But
that's a
I
yes.
just said no, and no one won
What?
that. You know why? Because when I grew up, and I know I'm sounding exactly like I'm sounding, but at least when I grew up, it was Biggie and Tupac, and then you actually had a real rap beef. And then I think
Mm.
somebody put this very nicely where they said, y'all ever realize that like rap beefs are just two guys in rooms writing poems about each other? I said that's about right. So,
Oh,
that's about as seriously as I take this. John, you've also got a bracket here that says John's got a job.
ah, yeah. I worked my first day outside of commentary, the first day in Tokyo as a bouncer at a club in Roppongi. So that was interesting, very interesting time. They hired me basically just to keep the peace during World Cup, but even in gaijin laden Roppongi, gaijin just means foreigner. Um, Man, like everyone is just too polite. There's zero fights. It is, I bounced at a couple of places downtown, and like a few nights where maybe I broke up like literally like 5 fights or more in one night. There's no fights. There's no fighting. Everyone's super nice. Like if they're rude to you and you actually like have to walk over to them, like you're gonna have to kick them out, then they start being nice and do whatever you tell them to. It's really like it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I want to say I like that. That's like a problem for you because I could show you some World Cup parties that definitely had need to be broken up, especially out here. Tomorrow we've got Brazil versus Mexico. Now,
Man,
listen, as
that's
somebody who
tonight for me.
practices
Yes.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and is a brown, this is a tough one.
It is yeah, where did they lump you with that one? It's like, what
Listen,
side are you on?
I could probably make it into
Visually.
both parties if I'm being
Yeah,
honest. Probably just being like, "Oh my God, yes, oh, I appreciate." Which, by the way, appreciate has 100% made its way into my lexicon as if it's a real thing to tell people. Especially when I was at Worlds, I noticed the amount of "oh my brush, appreciate," and I was like, "That's not a real word," but I keep saying it. And
yeah,
now it's
that's,
stemming outside of this, John. When people tell me something that they did that's nice for me, I just go, preach. I'm
mm,
not even a Brazilian. What am I
but
doing?
it's understood. No, but I mean, same thing, like omoplach. Like they just get super lazy, like they can't say that last syllable or whatever.
I mean, I guess that's what it is, but I feel bad that I'm just yelling out a preach, just yelling out
Mm.
stupid abreves at these folk.
Well,
So here's where we're at right now, John. We're at 58
mm,
minutes and 43 seconds of airtime.
holy
I wanted
shit.
to
Wow.
finish at exactly 60 minutes. We have
That's what she said.
1 minute and now 5 seconds. John, what do you want to close
Mm.
on? Because our last topic is thank you for watching.
Just I love you, Raf, nearly as
So
much
mad
as
at
Raf
you.
loves tacos.
Yep.
Uh,
Sounds
and
like
I hope neither side kills you at the
it. Can't
soccer
promise.
game tonight.
This is my last will and testament here, everybody.
That's it. That's it. But everything that you've done, we're very appreciative. So yeah, I think that's all I got.
Well, that's it. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. John and I have these infrequent round-the-world table discussions because he's very far from me right now. But if you'd like to see us discuss more, talk to us in the comment section. I'll be looking through for the rest of the day. I've got 15 seconds to kill, so I'm just going to say you guys are going to want to tune in this week to Verbal Tap. We've got our good friend Zach Mislaney, who's going to be taking on Kevin in Over Under Kevin for a stacked UFC 226 card. You don't want to miss it. 3 seconds left. Love you guys, and bye.